Welcome back to Fox Explainer. I'll show you the 2019 horror film The Hole in the Ground. Spoilers ahead. If you would like to help feed my cat, please subscribe to my channel. Watch out and take care. Sarah and Chris, a single mother and her young son, relocate to a country house in Ireland to begin a new life. Sarah almost hits someone in the middle of the road as they drive to their destination. The elderly woman who keeps whispering "he is not my son" turns out to be Noreen, and Sarah goes to check on her after making sure Chris is okay. But glancing over her shoulder at Chris when she doesn't answer Sarah's questions makes Noreen look creepy. A broken side view mirror on Sarah's car is all she has to worry about, so she drives away with her son. It is difficult for Sarah to raise Chris alone, and they have a few disagreements about Chris' picky eating habits, but their relationship is usually solid overall. They have a game where they make funny faces to make each other laugh, and Sarah always tells Chris that he's the best guy in the world. Chris cries out one day during lunch because he discovers a spider in the kitchen. Sarah catches it and releases it outside, which Chris dislikes because it means it might return. Angry, he says his father would have killed the spider and then questions Sarah about why he did not accompany them. It's difficult to explain, so Sarah simply says it's complicated, which enrages Chris, prompting him to step on the spider, accuse his mother of lying, and flee into the woods. Sarah rushes after him, feeling the wind pick up speed as she goes, and she is astounded to discover something both amazing and terrifying: a massive sinkhole. Before she can decide what to do, Chris appears behind her and apologizes for bringing up his father, despite the fact that he knows it makes her sad, so Sarah hugs him and takes him away, not wanting him to see the hole. Sarah hears the back door creaking later that night and makes sure to lock it before going to bed. Chris starts classes at a new school, but he has trouble making friends. When he is given a flyer about the school's incoming talent contest, Sarah encourages him to participate because it will help him make friends with his classmates, but Chris remains hesitant. Later, Sarah goes to a dinner party with some new friends, including her boss Louise, and while everyone shares crazy stories, she learns about Noreen, who is thought to be insane by everyone in town. She screamed and made a scene in her son's classroom many years ago, and it took 3 teachers to drag her out. The kid went to a new school, and Noreen was sent to a mental hospital. When she got out a few months later, she drove over her son. No one knows if it happened by mistake or on purpose. Sarah can't sleep when she gets home because she is very aware of the wind blowing and all the creaking sounds in the house. She hears a door slam, so she runs out of her room to check on Chris. She can't find him in his bed or anywhere else in the house, though. Sarah goes downstairs and sees that the back door is open. She is worried, so she gets a flashlight and goes looking for her son in the middle of the night. At this time of night, the forest is dark and creepy, so Sarah doesn't stay there long. When she hears some strange noises, she runs back home and calls the police. But she hangs up when she suddenly turns around and sees Chris standing by his bedroom door, saying he's been there the whole time. Sarah goes to see a doctor the next day. The doctor asks her if she has ever had anxiety and checks the scar on her forehead, which was caused by an accident a year ago. The doctor decides to give her some drugs that will help her sleep. Sarah is surprised when Chris walks into the kitchen just a second after she calls him when she gets home. This makes her even more sure she has anxiety problems, so she starts taking the pill before bed. Next morning, when she wakes up, Chris is there with a bunch of flowers he picked outside. After telling him he shouldn't have left when he did, Sarah takes the gift and gives him a hug. When Sarah picks up Chris from school the next time, she sees that he has made a lot of friends, including one who used to tease him. They run into Noreen again on the road on their way home, and she and Chris can't stop looking at each other. Since honking doesn't work, Sarah gets out of the car to ask Noreen to move. When she does, she finds her whispering again, this time saying it's not your boy. Des, Noreen's husband, walks in and says sorry to Sarah that he hasn't been keeping a better eye on his wife. Noreen walks over to the car and starts hitting the window of the passenger while saying, "It's not your son." She even hits her head against the glass to try to break it. Sarah doesn't waste any time getting in the car and driving away, while Des grabs his wife to stop her from following them. Noreen keeps trying to get away, though. The next morning, Sarah stops by Noreen's house on her way to take Chris to school. She finds Noreen dead on the ground with her head buried in the dirt. Later, when the police come to her house to take her statement, Sarah sees that one of the officers is playing arm wrestling with Chris to keep him from paying attention. She thinks for a moment that Chris is using superhuman strength to win and even breaking the officer's wrist. But it turns out that she is just making it up. After that, Sarah gets in the shower and notices that her scar is bleeding. The next day, when Sarah goes back to work, Louise brings up Noreen's death first. Sarah changes the subject to being a mother and says that sometimes when she looks at Chris, she doesn't recognize him. Louise, who has twins, tells her that this is totally normal and just another thing to get used to when your kids grow up so fast. Later, Sarah goes to Noreen's house for her funeral. She finds dozens of mirrors hanging in every room, but they are all covered with black fabric for the funeral. Des, who is sad, comes over to have a drink with her. This gives Sarah a chance to ask Noreen why she said Chris wasn't her son. Des says that Noreen did the same thing. After their son-turned date, she noticed small changes in the boy's personality and became sure that he was a fake. But Des, who had not seen the boy in the driveway, was the one who killed the boy, not Noreen. Sarah tries her best to get back to her normal routine as the days go by. She is running through the forest when she sees Chris' favorite action figure lying on the ground. She decides to check out the sinkhole where she can hear whispering that she can't understand. Later, at lunch, Sarah is shocked to see Chris eating the kind of food he used to hate with gusto, so she decides to talk to him about the toy. Chris says he didn't leave the house, so Sarah shows him the action figure and keeps asking him until he gets angry and pushes the table hard at her. He apologizes and goes to his room as soon as he realizes what he has done. Sarah notices strange noises coming from Chris' bedroom as night falls. She moves in closer to spy on him through the keyhole and the gap under the door, revealing an alarming scene. Chris is moving around the room on all fours, catching and eating a spider. This is too much for Sarah, so she rushes back to her room, and when Chris comes to check on her, she simply says goodnight as usual. Sarah takes Chris to the doctor the next day, who finds nothing wrong during the checkup. Sarah explains in private that Chris' behavior is changing, but the doctor is more concerned about Sarah's mental health and wonders if her scar was caused by Chris' father rather than an accident. Sarah then decides to purchase a video camera, which she conceals behind a wall in Chris' bedroom. Sarah decides not to take her pills that night. Chris continues to eat a lot of food in the morning. Sarah apologizes for her recent awkwardness, and Chris responds by violently inserting his fingers into her scar. Fortunately, it turns out to be a nightmare. Sarah attends Chris' school's talent show in the afternoon. His class is singing as a choir, and their chosen song is about a bog hole. Sarah is left alone on stage with Chris, who recites the lyrics emotionlessly. Sarah flees the hall but can't find an open door. Sarah tells Louise that Chris isn't her son. Sarah flees again when Chris arrives with his teacher. This time, she escapes and returns home to check the video camera, which she finds there is scary, so she goes to see Des. The man welcomes her back to his house and explains that Noreen hung all the mirrors because she wanted to be sure her husband was real. Sarah shows him footage showing that whatever was wrong with Des' son is now happening to Chris, but Des refuses to believe it and breaks the camera. Des denies seeing anything, but he won't call Sarah crazy. Chris is waiting for Sarah when she returns home with the camera's SD card. Sarah explains she ran because she was sick, and her son hugs her. Later at dinner, Sarah reveals she put sedatives in Chris' food, and he eats another dish he used to hate. After dinner, Sarah asks Chris to play their favorite game, but he forgets. Sarah tells him he's not her son, so the shapeshifter wearing Chris' face attacks her, knocking her out. Sarah wakes up to find the creature dragging her through the ground like Noreen. The sedatives kick in and the creature passes out, so Sarah doesn't get too dirty and escapes alone. She takes Chris back to the house and leaves him on the basement floor before checking his face in the broken side view mirror. The monster awakens and attacks Sarah again, but she easily pushes off a child's body. Sarah locks the door as the shapeshifter screeches demonically. Sarah can now focus on finding Chris. She grabs a flashlight and runs to the forest, where she approaches a sinkhole and falls into a tunnel. Sarah crawls through an aerospace to a larger cavern. She finds human bones and an unconscious Chris, whom she takes with her. Sarah discovers they are not alone. Faceless creatures are waking up and preparing to attack. The tunnel is harder to navigate with a child, but only one creature can enter at a time. This shapeshifter grabs Sarah's wrist and copies her face until she hits it with her flashlight. Sarah confirms Chris' survival when he awakens once they are out of the hole. Sarah rushes to the car, but it's locked. After leaving Chris by the car, Sarah goes inside to get her keys and hears the fake Chris calling for her. She can only escape safely by setting fire to the house and driving away with his son. Mother and son started a new, happy life in the city weeks later. Sarah takes photos of Chris to check his face, and their new home has dozens of mirrors. If you would like to help feed my cat, please subscribe to my channel.